groveling masses. Here we are, the commercials video most channels might have done first. Cats. In this video, I'll present the finest cats from my commercial archive, pillaged from raw VHS uploads, archival sites, and industry databases. I've done foxes, wolves, dogs, dragons, cows, horses, monsters, reindeer. Why not cats, you might wonder. Keep watching and you just might hear about my cat trauma. Let's hit the scratching post, shall we? Oh, wait, before I begin, I'd like to speak specifically to the smirking armchair aficionados of commercials, the ones who fall over themselves to mention the lesbian Arm & Hammer commercial at all costs, as if it's a rare secret only they know, when in fact, I've seen it making the rounds to the tune of 100,000 likes no fewer than 4 times. You've all seen it. You probably clicked this video expecting it. Maybe you've DM'd me about it, like everyone else in the universe. Darling, I specialize in things you haven't seen, not things you have. That said, I also consistently see people watching the ad in low quality, so here's a film scan for you.
Lovely party.
Yes, but don't you detect an odor?
Must be the litter box.
The litter box? Haven't you told our hostess about Arm & Hammer baking soda?
Oh.
It absorbs odor naturally for days and days, so the litter box smells clean. 1 part Arm & Hammer with 3 parts cat litter. The litter lasts longer, so she won't have to change it as often.
Oh, Jessica, you're so sophisticated.
Arm & Hammer baking soda for a cleaner smelling litter box.
There. Don't say I never gave you anything. I don't care how pretty the characters are, they spend the entire commercial talking about the litter box. I guess if you can get past that, you can get past anything. Now for the first commercial on our list.
You know, I used to be in that dull 9-to-5 zoo routine. I just couldn't escape. I toyed with the idea of becoming a heavy in Trafalgar Square, but who's gonna run off with Nelson anyway, right? Thanks, boys. And as I was clocking out one night, I saw this ad in the zoo news. Lion wanted to star in film. Born free, I thought. Terrific. It turns out to be a commercial for this new roll-your-own tobacco. Why not? Advertising makes stars out of those monkeys on TV, right? You know, this stuff's pretty good. What's it called? Samson, eh? Where was I? Oh, yeah. Well, this could be my big break, you know? Mr. DeMille, if you're watching, have you considered the return of Spartacus? Or Planet of the Lions? Even Paws?
Okay, action! The golden tobacco with a little more strength.
Oh, boy, what a salesman.
If this is the ad that breaks your will and makes you go get a smoke, you're weak. Spare a critical thought for the way that lovingly animated and mixed shot of the lion lighting up is expressly designed to remind you of the smell, taste, and touch with such verisimilitude that your hand has done the same before the ad is even over. Smoking, by the way, is still the leading cause of preventable death in the US, but Richard Williams' animation could probably get a fish to take up smoking. Yes, it's our boy Richard again. I think the dead giveaway is the fact that the girls so perfectly resemble the girls in the Père Dodu ads. The lion's voice is not really what you'd expect. He sounds a bit pinched, but otherwise his look is pretty spot on. The product he's advertising, called Samson, was a kind of loose tobacco, and they had about 8 million magazine ads for it, so I'm going to show them to you while I talk. Get your last look at my pretty face for a while. They probably used a lion to advertise this stuff because of the Nazarite oath-taker Samson, from the hit bestseller The Bible, who famously rips apart a lion with the power of the Holy Spirit. Why would an omniscient and omnipotent God allow 2 of his creatures to tear each other apart? Well, I don't know. For fun? Whole prides of gorgeously rendered lions fill out the pages of these magazine ads, doing cool stuff you can smoke during, like playing pinball, moving, and dressing like Sgt. Pepper. Shout out to this fittin' ass center. Royal Theodorus Niemeyer was a Dutch company founded in 1819 and has its origins trading products from the Dutch colonies. Great. The company was independent until 1990, when it became part of Rotham's International, a British company which then merged with British American Tobacco in 1999. BAT is, of course, who they're talking about when they say big tobacco, and has a vast list of lawless behavior under its belt. Since the infallible system of capitalism is supposed to continue forever, I suppose all smaller bodies will eventually merge into a one-world company that will maybe give us a number to trade under? Oh, but don't worry. Eagle-eyed religious fundamentalist groups are definitely going to rein in these living shadows of colonialism before they get powerful enough to have governments and entire populations in the palm of their hand. I'm told sarcasm is generational, so hopefully you caught the S on that one. Let's move on and hope the next corporation isn't an ontologically evil one. Spoilers, they all are.
Esso presents $2 off at the movies. Use your Esso Extra card with a 25-liter fill and swipe your way to a coupon good for $2 off at Cineplex Odeon.
So, that was a pretty good ad. The tiger jumping through the different film genres was fun, from western to horror to Errol Flynn adventure. You may be familiar with Esso's Put a Tiger in Your Tank slogan. In fact, it was one of the most successful advertising campaigns in history. The phrase was invented by Chicago copywriter Emery Smith in 1959 and popularized through a McCann-Erickson ad campaign beginning in 1964. You see, the tiger was originally depicted as fierce and cool, but once he was turned into an affable furry with huge man tits, the public adored him. He was one of the most recognizable advertising characters after my wife, Elsie the cow. What does this prove? Well, that the public is obsessed with anthropomorphized animals, and the only thing separating a furry from anyone else is a stated interest in such characters. Boom. Furry. Seems like a pretty thin line, doesn't it? If you don't recognize this guy, go bring your parents and grandparents into the room and watch their faces light up. He was originally designed by Bob Jones, who did in-betweening for Warner Brothers before moving on to Charles Cooper Studios, where his art appeared in magazines like the Saturday Evening Post, famous for its Leyendecker covers decades earlier, and Good Housekeeping. He went freelance in the 1960s and designed the Esso Tiger, then worked for Mad Magazine for over 20 years, beginning in the 1970s. He even did Fred Flintstone on the backs of a lot of cereal boxes. In an interview with Today's Inspiration, Bob says, "Finally, we get a call down to McCann-Erickson, and I go into this room, and there's this room full of tiger drawings pinned to the wall. Every artist in the city, or I don't know, the country, tried out for this. Anyway, they picked mine." Just look at this expression sheet. I think my favorites are this one where he's seeing his favorite body type. Maybe an anthropomorphic car furry? Is there a word for that? An auto fur? I don't know. I've been sealed in a crystal for 100 years. Give me a break. I also like this one where he's finished putting a tiger in that car furry's tank. What gorgeous art. I wonder whatever happened to the company. Like maybe it shut down because it was too environmentally conscious? Oh. He should probably be wearing a black hat.
Esso. We're changing our name, but not our stripes.
Yes, Esso became Exxon, and I'm sure I don't need to talk to you about Exxon's list of atrocities, but the 1989 Valdez oil spill remains the second largest in American history. Add to that war profiteering, climate change denial, human rights violations, and sitting at the top of the Plastic Wastemakers Index. You can read all about their history if you want to acquire Target for your next Etsy witch curse. Let's move on before the oil fumes get to me.
Hello. We'd forgotten about that one, hadn't we? No, we hadn't forgotten about that. We can't be late again, Happiness. Well, tell him we're washing our hair.
Your Happiness loves Cadbury.
Here's a fun one. Cadbury. You might know them for sexy bunnies, but they had an ad campaign in the mid-2000s with talking hyenas and a cougar.
Seen something, have we, my Happiness? Indeed we have.
We can't, she'll kill us. We can just have one and spread the rest out.
Great voice acting on this one. It really feels like the cougar is this woman's persona coming out to tell her to indulge.
Hello. We'd forgotten about that one, hadn't we? No.
She seems quite good at playing a guitar and making it sound like a harp. Impressive. Of course, I love the psychology of characterizing women's desires, buried and sublimated into servile impulses like being on time for a date, are in fact apex predators, keenly waiting for them to chase wanton sensory bliss, such as through chocolate. The creators of the Character Shop, have a write-up on their website and even mention that, quote, happiness is your inner animal, your fauna alter ego. Darling, just say persona. Just look at this gorgeous animatronic creature. It required 4 people to operate, which sounds like your average plural furry to me. Rick Lazzarini is the chief creative officer for the Character Shop and worked on this commercial. You might know his special effects work from some small, lesser-known films like Hook, Aliens, Ghostbusters 2, Pirates of the Caribbean, and so on. Truly an impressive guy with a great body of work. The TCS website is full of behind-the-scenes images, footage, and stories, so check it out if you're into this kind of stuff. Cadbury, unfortunately, was acquired by Mondelez International in 2010. As we know, the bigger the multinational corporation, the more evil, and Mondelez has overseen the company during a number of controversies such as listeria recalls and, as always, child labor in their cocoa farming. Personally, I think chocolate tastes better when I know it wasn't processed by a child in order to save me, oh, let's be honest, the corporation, 20 cents or so. You have to try very hard to find chocolate that isn't tainted with the stain of child labor in this day and age, particularly as pinpoint capitalism shaves off everything in the name of higher profits for the fewer and fewer. Next up...
Felix? All right. Cats like Felix, like Felix. Hello? Oh, hi. Yes? Oh, I see. Did you? Come on. Cats like Felix, like Felix.
Felix! What a cute cat. I have a few of these ads, so let's look at some more.
Three million cats already enjoy Felix. Come on, don't let your cat miss out.
Oh, Felix!
Felix roasted. With tasty, meaty morsels. Oh, Felix. Succulent on the inside.
Oh, Felix.
With a delicious, scrummy flavour. Cats like Felix rush home to Felix roasted.
Now, I don't know that Felix is necessarily furry, but he is one of the best animated examples of a cat in a commercial. And the way an animal moves, its intrinsic qualities and personality are a subject of much interest and study for furries. After all, where are we supposed to learn how to meow and pounce and love bite and things like that? Anyway, in addition to being a great pianist, Felix has been the Nestle Purina brand's mascot since 1989. I know what you're thinking. You hear Nestle and alarm bells are going off in your head. Yes, as documented on my show, every time Nestle comes up, they are swamped in a mire of slave and child labor reports, poor progress on animal welfare promises, and lobbying for water to be classified as a need and not a right. Good luck finding products their filthy hands haven't touched. With that out of the way, Felix here has been weirdly resilient in the complicated pet food market. This kitty has gone from traditional cell animation to digital animation, and as of 2023 is voiced, personified, by Robbie Williams in an ad campaign that includes the song It's Great to Be a Cat.
Felix, it's great to be a cat by Robbie Williams.
The life of a cat is so lovely.
How completely impish. Songs from an animal's perspective are about as furry as you can get outside of an animated musical. Robbie Williams, notably, sticks references to Aleister Crowley's Thelema in his songs, such as the lyrics, "As you will, she'll be the whole of the law, and if it don't feel good, what are you doing it for?" in his 2012 song Candy.
As you will, she'll be the whole of her law. And if it don't feel good, what are you doing it for?
It's okay, Rob. You can be an open Thelemite. You don't have to hide. You know, I wanted to have at least one commercial where a cat is being a cat and not a human, because I need to get something off my chest. I have cat trauma. I grew up in a household with 9 cats, sometimes rising to 12 or even 15. I also had asthma as a child and am so allergic to cats that I sometimes get nosebleeds around them. I haven't really ever mentioned this because the whole world seems so ready to shame you for not getting along with an animal, particularly this animal. I've seen so many posts equating not liking cats with being evil, and it's made me silent. But you know, I don't dislike cats. I grew up with them, I know what their behaviors are like, but embracing them is embracing a severe allergen for me, and moreover they are the most commonly hoarded animals according to the NIH, although that study had a tiny sample size. Either way, I had to watch a parent give their life over to cats, while also not really taking care of them as well as they could have been. And while the indignity doesn't stop there, I've about reached the limit of what I'm willing to talk about publicly. This is all to say I put Felix on this list because he's a wonderful example of the kind of cats we have in our lives. Like I said, he's just happy and straightforward and clearly loved because love is what these ads are trying to sell you. But in a world where I didn't have allergies, I guess I wouldn't mind having a cat like Felix hanging around.
That took an unexpected turn. Well done. I haven't looked this good since millennium.
Look at you, handsome as ever.
Why, thank you.
Oh, I was talking to Felix.
It's great to be a cat.
Okay, I've got 2 commercials for different things up next. No, it's not cheating because they're from the same animator. Let's check them out.
I went down with my baby to the discotheque. After 45 dances, well, I felt like a wreck. My baby said, "Why, honey, you have lost your grin. You're looking just like something that the dog brought in." It's obvious to me that you're not at your best. You were definitely needing to be refreshed. A spider looks the most refreshing thing for you. It's got calcium and protein. Calcium and protein. And vitamins too. All the cats are into milk. What more could a body ask for? We're gonna put more life into your life. We're gonna put more life. More life. We're gonna put more life. EverReady. More life into your life. With a whole lot of music. More life. And lots of lights. More life. Everywhere you go. Long life. All day and night. We're gonna put more life. EverReady. More life into your life.
I can't get a direct source, but there's no way these 2 ads weren't directed by the great Oscar Grillo of Buenos Aires, one of the best to ever do it in commercial animation. There's a vivacious, living quality to even his most stylized work, as seen in these ads. Let's take a quick look at him receiving the Winsor McKay Award.
So you think you can run the Cheetos business, Mr.
Cheetah. Just a cheetah.
Yes, that's Chester Cheetah, also known as Sir Not Appearing in this countdown.
I'm so pleased to be here. Thank you very much for having me. You are wrong, but thank you for having me anyway. I am so proud and so honored to be given this award. I'd like to say to you, welcome to my funeral, but in any case, thank you very much for something that reflects somehow the effort made over all these years. But I had to clarify one thing. I don't deserve it, and I think you made a big mistake. Whoever gave it to me is wrong. I, as a matter of fact, work with a lot of people, and I would say that I know at least 124 people that deserve it more than I do. But I will take the award. I'm very happy to have it, because basically what I am going to do is to put it in my mantelpiece, and I will look at that every night, sitting next to my wife, watching television, but now and then I look at the award, and I will remember 124 people who deserved it much more than I did.
In addition to being gracious, Oscar is quite talented.
All the cats are into milk.
All the cats are into milk. What does this mean? Honestly, I don't think cats are supposed to have milk. Adult cats lose the enzyme required to break it down, so they effectively become lactose intolerant. Maybe consult with a vet before giving your animals something other than pet food. The color palette in this ad is amazing, and every frame is a work of art. Especially this frame. You know, dairy board commercials seemed so ubiquitous back in the day. You couldn't open a magazine without seeing a Got Milk ad. Wow, Kermit, nice legs. The second ad, for EverReady batteries, features a muscle cat summoning his feline friends with the power of boomboxes and other assorted electronics. The batteries put more life into your life, kind of like how a cat has 9 lives, I suppose. We'll come back to that. I guess the black cat used to be on the battery, and there were, of course, merchandising tie-ins. EverReady was purchased at some point by Energizer Holdings. If you want to read about Energizer's unethical practices, union busting, and tax avoidance, check out ethicalconsumer.com, which keeps profiles on lots of major companies. Before I go, I want to play this clip from a 1998 interview with Oscar Grillo.
Essentially, in the last few years, I would say even the last 8 to 10 years, advertising concentrated so heavily using commercials, mostly, for the children ghetto of expressivity. So a lot of the advertising we see in animation is for cereals or children products, call it children products. And I think the degree of banality and lack of sophistication and brutality, and this is an insult to children, not because children don't deserve better, it's just because nobody bothers to do a better job, have given a bad taste in the mouth for using animation for other things. You can use animation for anything you want.
Just the realest truth. The children ghetto of expressivity is referring to the idea that animation is a silly frivolity that's only for babies, and the tastemakers and intelligentsia are better off spending their time on big boy adult entertainment like superhero movies and movies that deconstruct superhero movies, or maybe animated series run by documented sex pests interposing dick jokes with pickle jokes. As indie animators increasingly sign large deals with streaming services, this binary is gradually disassembling, but the beauty of living in the digital age is that you can personally extricate yourself from the consumer slot capitalism wants to put you in by searching out the rich tradition of animated films outside the binary of baby clap hands or neck vein guy who swears a lot. Films that were always there but were hidden by distribution fights or anti-competition bias in studio-owned theaters. That brings us to Furry Found Footage, a project striving to emphasize that even animated films dismissed as only being for children often have deeper artistic value, and that there are decades of animated films you missed because, like me, you grew up in the consumerist Big Mac Happy Meal bubble that didn't want you to find them. Shall we move on?
Avant, j'avais l'air bête. Maintenant, j'ai l'air weak.
Les patios d'Airwick.
Les patios d'Airwick, des formes très élégantes, des parfums subtils.
Pas bête.
Les patios, l'air chic d'Airwick.
In doing this show, I've quickly learned that if you've heard of a product, it probably comes from a multinational corporation. Oh boy. Let's get this out of the way. Airwick is made by Reckitt, a company with antitrust violations, palm oil-based child labor and forced labor violations, and in 2019 they paid a $1.4 billion, that's billion with a B, for claiming their opioid medication Suboxone film was, quote, safer, despite nothing verifying that claim. The key takeaway? If you're okay with what I just shared, buy these products. If you aren't, try to find another source, as hard as that may be in these days of omnipotent corporations with their tentacles gripping every aspect of our lives. But aren't these cat fursuits fabulous? Obviously, this commercial comes from France. What else comes from France? Beauty and the Beast, as previously discussed on this channel, but also Jean Cocteau's 1946 fantasy film of the same name, which employs a similar special effects technique to lustrous effect. More than just the makeup, though, this ad features gorgeous costumes. Her gown makes me jealous. It takes a lot of crinoline to get that kind of volume, and the prince isn't bad either. I love this ridiculous little dance they do. I suppose in this case the Airwick thing is supposed to be like some kind of rare jewel the prince is giving to the princess to prove his love. This ad is from 1989, and the late 80s really feel like a bit of a heyday for this kind of stuff, but in particular with these cats, because in 1989, we are, at this point, 8 years post-cat musical. So this ad is thoroughly jellicle. Next up, I've got a set of 2 for you. Okay, this is a big one, folks. Sato Musen was an electronics retail chain with a flagship store in Akihabara. They ceased operations in 2008 and were acquired by Yamada Denki. I really thought these kittens were supposed to be cheetahs, but it turns out they're jaguars, and their names are Jagao and Jagako. There's actually a song about them that would play in their stores. This is very common in Japan, and if you've ever been to a Daiso, you've probably heard their teeth-grinding theme, Happy Price Paradise. There is a lot to love in these ads. It's notable that in the first stop-motion commercial, likely from the late 80s or early 90s, the camera seems happy to focus on Jagako's body. I love their dance. Stop-motion is such a unique art form, the love child of puppetry and video, and seeing new stop-motion I haven't seen before always gets me excited. The second ad is a jazzier, 2000s riff on the same subject, with Jagao on vocals and a clone backup band. Jagako gets even higher femme with this Marilyn Monroe send-up, but it turns out it's all a fantasy playing out on 100 TVs, one of which these helpful jaguars are eager to sell you. I also have a clip of dancing jaguar fursuits during a performance of the store's commercial song. Those dancers are really moving. There's that feline grace I've heard so much about. I chose these ads specifically so I could talk about Magari Office, a stop-motion animation studio headed by Fumiko Magari, one of Japan's premier stop-motion animators and a name you probably haven't heard before. Magari Office was involved in countless stop-motion commercials, and the odds are any stop-motion commercial you've seen out of Japan had Fumiko's fingers on it. She worked on my favorite Christmas movie, Sanrio's gorgeous 1979 masterpiece Nutcracker Fantasy, as well as doing work for Rankin Bass on movies like Mad Monster Party, and yes, dear viewer, she also worked on Pingu. Just look at how cool the company website is. You can click back to see more examples of commercials throughout the years, and here's our Sato Musen Jaguars. Apparently, they shot the commercial and it was used on TV and in stores for 15 years. Pretty amazing, but for such high-quality work, you can't expect less. I want to take a minute to read some excerpts from a John Ikuma interview with Fumiko Magari, printed in the February 2011 issue of Stop Motion magazine. Quote, "Magari has a rock star energy. She overflows with passion and bubbles with enthusiasm. It's obvious that she's highly creative, and she's a little wild as well. We talked about animating at Rankin Bass outside of our interview, and she told me of her first day there. She got in trouble by playing rock music full blast while animating. She said she scared the other animators because of this. Hell yes, girl." John Ikuma asks, "Do you dream in animation?" And Fumiko answers, "When I see anyone moving in an interesting way, I wonder in my head, how many frames does it take to move like that? How much emotion does a movement take? What does a 20-frame movement look like over 10 frames? Can you transmit emotion so much that you can kill a person? I think it is interesting to think how much emotion you can dispatch from movements. The effect of 10 frames when it's supposed to take 20 frames. Moving objects in a way that stabs someone with a knife. It is interesting. I don't think I dream in animation, though." Oh my god, what a woman. Stuff like this is how you know you're talking to a real genius. Ikuma asks, "What are your feelings toward the change in animation? Stop motion to CG?" And Magari answers, "CG is calculated. Humans always wander around. That is not possible in CG. Stop motion makes the animator think. You cannot move in assumptions. humans respond and sympathize to other puzzled humans because we are not robots. I can sympathize as long as I am a human being, living and questioning things. The same humans respond to stop motion. CG is a different category. It is great. I enjoyed Avatar and such, but is Perfect Beauty great? If you are a human, the answer is no. Being human cannot be expressed by CG. People like new things. To me, it does not have the air, humidity, temperature, or smell of sweat. Toy Story is great, but I could not feel the stink of the attic. On the other hand, stop motion can express that. I am obsessed with the unhinged way Fumiko Magari talks about art. She sounds a lot like a weird niche furry artist, and I don't think we get insight like this very often. I really hope younger animators are learning not to compromise from masters like this, but considering Fumiko Magari has done a lot of training and workshops over the years, I think the future is safe. Preserving the works and words of artists like these is going to be instrumental in that safety. Let's check out our next commercial.
It's the smooth, clean taste that makes Long Life the different beer. Given the choice, most people would rather enjoy a long life.
It's time to play that timeless furry found footage game, Spot the Richard Williams. Yes, Dear Richard Studio created this incredible ad about a cat suffering, just getting dragged across the cheese grater of life for a sip of beer. But in that classic Tom and Jerry, isn't it fun when someone endures grievous bodily harm kind of way? There's something magical about this 40s cartoon homage playing out in 1985, and done by animators with such pedigree. I'm not sure if this played in typical commercial breaks because it's thrice the length of your average TV ad, but wow, remember when a commercial could waste the first 10 seconds establishing the main character's misery? Like that pie on the windowsill, this luscious glass of discontinued long-life beer sits waiting, whispering a sweet froth of bright, effervescent cold, a swallow of winter. But alas, obstacle after obstacle stands in the cat's way. I really like this bull he turns into and this fat asshole of a bird, but I have questions. The cat finally gets the beer, which is great, because way too many commercials are about a palpable denial that only you, the viewer, can cure by going out and buying a six-pack yourself. But hang on a second. He sips the beer and immediately gets the bright idea to shove a pencil into the life counter, which is fighting as hard as it can to take down to 0. And why? Because cats aren't supposed to drink beer. According to Pet Poison Helpline, even 1 teaspoon of alcohol could cause alcohol poisoning. Not a great ad for beer, while also being a great ad for beer. Love it. So apparently the animation in this commercial is what got Spielberg and Zemeckis to consider and eventually hire Richard as animation director for Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I can see that. Richard Williams was basically a deity, as are all highly skilled artists, each endowed with the gift of creation. Although it was the Americans who invented canned beer directly after Prohibition in 1935, Britain followed shortly after, and Long Life was the best-selling canned beer in the 1950s and 60s. It marketed itself as the only beer specifically brewed for canning. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Like, what, a different fizz quotient? Long Life was discontinued in the 1990s, but if you're an old UK furry who drank it, please reminisce in my comments. I'm not really a beer girl myself. I find the taste loathsome and the effects overall deleterious, so I try to stick to mixed drinks and wine. Maybe I'm telling on myself and exposing a weakness here, but half a glass of anything can give me hangovers that sometimes last 2 days, so I don't drink very often. And anyway, the fizz makes me swell up like a balloon. Go to commercial?
Are you in the dark about who to talk to at your local council? Ask Thompson. For the local answer, ask Thompson.
Now we arrive at the cat who captivated the furry internet with his soft, ginger tabby coat and soothing voice. Let's have some more.
Hello, I'm Thompson. I know all about your neighborhood. It's all in your Thompson local directory. Need a plumber? Ask Thompson. A hi-fi shop you can just plug into? Ask Thompson. In your Thompson local directory, nothing's more than a few miles away. So, when you want a DIY shop that's really handy, man, ask Thompson. For the local answer, ask Thompson.
My next guest is familiar to us all. Will you please welcome the cat on everyone's mouth, Thompson.
Thank you very much, thank you.
Now then, tell us, Thompson, how can a cat write a successful book like this?
Well, I'm your local cat, Russell, and that's how I know every inch of the local area. Postcodes, shops, businesses, services. You see, in my book, nothing is more than a whisker away.
Ah, so for the local answer,
ask Thompson. Russell, you read me like a book.
This first one was animated at, obviously, Richard Williams Animation. Just look at this hyper-real turn and the liquid smooth camera shift. That's a dead giveaway. According to the Hall of Advertising, Eric Goldberg took over animating this character, called Ginger Tom sometimes and Thompson others, at his Pizzazz Studios after a falling out with Mr. Williams. Shall we check out one of those later commercials?
Hey, Thompson, do you know anything about her?
Who's that, Sila?
No, I mean her. I want to get my hair done for me party.
You mean hair? Yes, of course. Hairdressers. Hairstyle, nice.
The Rolls.
The Rolls. No problem. Here we are. Garage services. Car hire.
Not a Rolls Royce, the bread rolls.
Oh, sorry. Caterers. Look, there's one just round the corner. Look.
And that. Oh, Thompson, you think of everything.
Oh, that's so true, Sila. But then, I've got a lot of answers.
Trust Thompson.
For the local answer, trust Thompson.
Wow, Thompson really likes Sila Black. Wow, what a cuddly little cutie. That's the voice of Bill Oddie. And Sila Black? Well, she was a white-hot singer, particularly known for her work in the 1960s, including my favorite.
What's it all about? When you sort it out, I'll feed.
The last one I'm going to share with you is by far the most dynamic.
They gave me nothing, but they can't come in. They gave me nothing, but they can't come in. They gave me nothing, but they can't come in. You got another day, I'll tell you again. They gave me nothing, but they can't come in. You got tomorrow, and I'll tell you again.
I keep all the heavy industry out of the Thompson local, so the numbers you're looking for are easier to find. For the local answer, ask Thompson.
Something about that hose screams inflation cake. All the setup is there, and yet a sad day for balloon enthusiasts everywhere. But this problem has been rectified by this or that furry artist if you go and take a look. I guess it's no surprise that furries took one look at Good Universe Fritz the Cat and lost its collective litter. He's an easygoing fellow, quick with a joke, probably enjoys a pint. Sits on the pool table without thinking, gets surprised by his own tail in the shower, whatever quaint little quirks enamor him to you. To the average cartoon fetishist, a character that looks like this is the normie equivalent of a beach babe emerging from the surf like Botticelli's Venus. If you so much as Google Thompson local directory, you'll see furry porn before one full revolution of your scroll wheel. Now that's power. Pretty impressive for some old phone book that is probably totally defunct. Oh, no wait, it's still here. It seems to have become an Angie's List for the British set. I'm not sure which of the Thompson commercials came first, but I think it's very funny that he's introduced as
The cat on everyone's mouth.
the cat on everyone's mouth. I mean, come on. Thompson even appeared on the local directory books themselves. Wow, how interesting. Such a charming little character. I hope nothing bad happens to... Oh no. Sorry to the uncool nerd who prefers this post-Blue Man Group Thompson, but for ad agencies to stumble so completely on the reinvention of a beloved character is so, so sad. Thank you, besotted furries, for keeping this pantsless wonder alive and kicking. Now we've got our last commercial and... Oh, hello, Mr. Williams. I see you brought your friend. What's his name? Oscar? No, I mean the rabbit. I suppose you want to tell my audience that your studio also animated the final group of commercials in my list. My goodness, Richard, I couldn't possibly have foretold it. Not even with my crystal ball. Shall we?
Tony, help! Tiger Man's stealing the Frosty's secret formula!
What? Oh, no, he's not. Who moved the horse? Hi-yo!
Only Kellogg's Frosties have the secret formula that makes them...
Yikes! This is the end of the road! For Tiger Man, your secret's safe with me. Nothing like Frosties when you're feeling a bit flat. They're great!
Drat. It's useless without the secret formula.
Boy, these Frosties are going really fast. They're great!
First class, Tony!
Tickets, please.
It's Tiger Man! Help!
Yikes!
Only Kellogg's Frosties have the secret formula that makes them...
Tiger Man needs more training. They're great!
I'm not sure why they chose a tiger to be an antagonist in a commercial starring a tiger. So, Tiger Man's whole thing is that he wants the Frosted Flakes / Frosties in the UK secret formula. Interesting that they used to have an ingredients gimmick versus just jerk who wants to seal the cereal and enjoy it. He's the same species as Tony, but he sort of looks like he leapt out of a Gastrointestinal Joe cartoon. His grinning maw of fangs only serves to highlight how toothless old Tony looks most of the time. I love his pointy shoulders and the fur pattern around his eyes that looks like a bandit's domino mask. He's a touch more human-shaped than tiger-shaped, and the animators gave him the sinuous movements of an evil, strutting twink. I must say, I love Tiger Man. He's far and away the most fearsome breakfast cereal villain I've ever seen, and I don't doubt some little kitties, were probably frightened by his leering eyes and that mouth of yellowed teeth. Since his first appearance in 1952, Tony the Tiger has had a lot of development. His earliest commercials were from that era when the ad band just walked onto the set of the show and told you how great the product was.
Gee, Pop, is this where they're going to give you $500?
Yep. All I have to do is ride a Mama Bull.
Name?
Tony the Tiger.
What outfit's from Tiger?
Sugar Frosted Flakes by Kellogg's out of Battle Creek.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of Sugar Frosted Flakes? Those big crisp flakes of corn with that secret toasted-in sugar frosting? They're great!
Uh-huh. We'll see how great.
Next, Tony the Tiger from Sugar Frosted Flakes riding Bone Crusher, the Brahma Bull.
The Bone Crusher? Brahma? I thought it was Mama!
How'd you stay on, Pop?
I just sang him a Brahma's lullaby, Junior, and promised him some Sugar Frosted Flakes.
They're great.
Get Sugar Frosted Flakes in the snack pack, too.
Hey, remember back in my very first episode where I dug up a court case between Seawees and Tomy, the makers of Sweet Sea, as evidence for why the bright, creative, eye candy Sweet Sea pilot never got picked up into a full show? Well, I'm continuing the furry found footage tradition of looking into case filings. Eugene Kolke created Tony the Tiger for Kellogg's through the Leo Burnett ad agency in 1952. Yes, that's Groucho peering dubiously at him, and we already know that Exxon, then Esso, popularized their 1959 tiger character through a McCann Erickson ad campaign beginning in 1964. That's a 12-year difference in Tiger genesis. Once Exxon began dubbing their gas station markets Tiger Mart in the early 90s and using their Esso Tiger to advertise them, Kellogg's filed a suit claiming this was confusing consumers who thought perhaps Kellogg's were the ones sponsoring the marts and food products. I know, it's really stupid. Anyway, a federal court judge threw out the claim in 1998, but Kellogg's moved through the Sixth Circuit Court of Appeals, and in the 2000, the Supreme Court, yes, that place where blind justice goes to be stabbed by her own sword, and the U.S. Constitution is used as so much piss paper lining the bench, let stand a lower court ruling that Kellogg's still had time to make their trademark claim. This is all even though both tigers had been around 30 years or more by the time the suit was filed. Anyway, I found the filing, and the words cartoon tiger appear no fewer than 70 times throughout the document. Is it really the furries who are furry? This all reeks of original character do not steal. Okay, but I really love these lines from the case files. Quote, "The district court found that Kellogg similarly was grossly remiss in that Exxon registered its whimsical tiger in 1965 with no opposition from Kellogg, and Kellogg did not file suit until 31 years later. In the early 1980s, Exxon's advertising agency, McCann Erickson, suggested that Exxon phase out the use of its cartoon tiger and begin using a live tiger, opining that the cartoon tiger was too whimsical and, hence, inappropriate in the light of prevalent oil shortages. If only they knew how whimsical things were going to get in 1989. I can't find any reliable information on how the court case ended, but I saw claims that they settled out of court, so I'll leave you to imagine the Tony and Exxon tiger kissing and making up. So there you have it. An answer for why it took me so long to make a cat episode, an insight into all the felines, whimsical or no, hidden in plain sight. I'd like to close this episode by shouting out the fine horses that show up in the Western Frosted Flakes cowboy commercial, and spend a little time letting you admire the best shot from this ad, nay, the best shot from this whole episode. Enjoy, and see you next time. Once again, I'd like to thank my wonderful $10 Laserdisc Patreon supporters. For only $10 a month, I will paint stripes on your name and release it into the jungle, where it will be immediately killed and eaten by a real tiger. So thank you, Bitter Corella, King Butt Stallion, Phyllis Wren, Tosca, Dominic Foxley, Victor the Mewtwo, Alex McFall, Joe the English Otter, Silly Scotty Dog, Stubadub, and Crown. And thanks to all my lower tier supporters as well. Look at this list. Wow, it's almost like I'm doing something right. Oh well, that's ciao. Or should I say meow?